so um, hey, welcome back. This is a brand new episode of the LDC podcast. My name is Sardar, and today we have a friend and a colleague on the show. Before I get into that, I would like to tell you that this is actually like more like a video cast than a podcast. So, but we really decided to show our faces for this time. And we have a very exciting topic today that we're going to discuss. We hope you are going to like it. So I would like to ask my friend, my colleague, who is from Rebin Dictionary Funds. But prior to Rebin Dictionary Funds, he has been my friend. We have been working together for a long time. So yeah. I really find it useful to ask him to come on the show and share his experience regarding the difficulties that English learners face during the English learning process. So Zana, please introduce yourself, tell the audience who you are and what are you doing at the moment, and tell us how has been your daily schedule during the last 2 months of quarantine.
Well, actually, this is the most difficult part of the show because hello everyone. Hello Sardar, especially you and all English learners. Thank you so much for having me today here in your program.
You're welcome.
And just to start with, my name is Zana and I'm from Brania. I'm a graduate of English Department, Faculty of Education in 2015. And it's been a long time that I'm dealing with English language, dealing with learners and with English in general, especially online. And I have had many courses in different cities. I have been living in Suli, in Erbil, Brania, sometimes in Kaladza. And that's why I'm kind of familiar with English students, like those who are studying online. Even those people who have been in my course, they have been telling me there are problems while they want to study English, there are difficulties. So today, inshallah, we will have a great discussion about it. And I'm so glad to be here. Thank you again, Sardar.
You're welcome.
And concerning,
I'm really glad
sorry for the interruption.
I have you on the show. Yeah, I'm really glad that
thank you so much.
I have been looking forward to having someone on my show, and this is actually the moment.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. And actually, at the moment, some people may know, I'm managing Rebin Dictionary project, like the whole project. And concerning, the whole project, I'm the manager of it. And concerning what I'm doing these days, actually, I'm stuck home and I don't know what to do. I'm kind of bored. That's why I don't know what to do. So this project, this show, is gonna be interesting. It's gonna make my day, actually.
I hope so. Really, you know that everyone is bored these days, so we really wanted to enjoy some of our time and actually share our experience, and we hope that we can help English learners. So Zana, tell us. Actually, let's start from your experience. Can you tell us the difficulties you faced when you started learning English? How did you deal with these difficulties?
Well, to be honest, I was accepted in English department, and the problem was I didn't have enough time to study, and I had a part-time job, so I had to work and study together. And that was the biggest concern that I had. I knew I like English, I love English, I want to improve my English, but the problem was I didn't have enough time. And the first time when I started learning English was actually the third stage. The first stage and the second stage, I couldn't deal with it really well because I was super busy. I was hectic. Mm-hmm. But then when I became the third stage, I promised myself that I want to be one of the top 10 students and I want to improve my English. Mm-hmm. Then this is how I started. And to be honest, I was very lucky because even, I mean, I mentioned that in one of my videos. I met an American lady, and she took my hand and she helped me. Like, she showed me the way. She directed me everywhere. And like, I mean, I started with her. But concerning the difficulties that I faced from the beginning, like, one of the biggest difficulties that I had was grammar. And I know grammar is like
Wow.
everybody's fear about English. Everybody's scared about is
Yeah,
scared of
actually
grammar.
the ghost. It's the ghost these days.
Exactly, exactly. So one of my biggest problems was grammar,
Hmm.
and the second problem that I had was having a clear accent. Because, like, as you know, while we were students, like we were students at school and even at the university, we have been studying British, I mean, accent. And I met that American lady. It was totally a different world, and I had
Yeah,
to, like,
sure.
make a big shift, a big change in my life. I had to have a big jump in my life, and I have to make a big shift. Like, then I decided, okay, so I want to learn American accent. Even I didn't know the differences. Even I didn't know why I like American accent. But like, I was just amazed by that American lady, which, I mean, I guess, like, who you know, Kathleen.
I know her, and she's amazing. I, I,
Exactly.
I
So
actually love her because she helped me a lot. I like, in the full sense of the word, a lot. And I,
exactly. I mean, she has been helping everyone in the area. But
true.
to get back to the topic, like, I didn't have a clear accent and I didn't know how to deal with it. Then I decided to imitate Kathy.
Mm.
And like, everywhere she went, I was like a shadow. We were working together everywhere. And this is where I met you at the Language Center of
That's
Rapper
true.
University.
Yeah,
Yeah, I had the pleasure to meet you there. Then
yeah.
this is how I started. So grammar, having a clear accent, and actually writing. One of my biggest problems still, that I have this problem, because we know English is not a phonetic language, and the words that you like, the words that have written cannot be pronounced the same way that you. I mean I mean, those words that have been written, you cannot pronounce them the same way.
That's
So
the
they
difficulty.
change.
Yeah, this is one of the
Yeah.
difficulties, by the way.
Exactly. So that was hard for my writing skill, for spelling. I mean, which, you know, a lot of even native speakers, they are suffering from spelling, because they cannot. I mean, they don't know everything about spelling. It's tough, actually.
Yeah,
It's very tough.
that's true. Zana, tell us. You said that you had difficulties with grammar. Uh, like, did you have any like specific technique dealing with grammar? It was just like happened naturally all the way through
Well,
today.
yeah. To be honest, like, since I was lucky, I had that American lady, so I didn't focus a lot. I didn't focus too much on grammar,
Hmm.
even though, like, we were studying grammar at the university, but
Sure.
I didn't focus too much on grammar. But instead, I decided, like, to imitate what Kathy is saying, because she was a native speaker. So
Mhm.
I decided to imitate her and learn grammar naturally. I mean, because, you know, like, in grammatical structure, there are a lot of rules, that exceptions, a lot of stuff that you cannot control.
Yeah,
It's hard to master grammar in English, because there are many exceptions. So
that's
I decided to imitate and learn grammar naturally. And actually, this is how I controlled it. I mean, I cannot say I controlled it 100%, because I
well,
know, even when we are talking,
it's
we have
actually
mistakes.
uncontrollable. It's very hard to
Exactly.
control grammar. And
Yeah,
this,
but I mean,
yeah,
it's better to say I was able to manage it, not control it.
yeah. Actually, this is what we usually tell the learners: try not to focus too much on grammar, because after all, you will you'll be lost. You cannot
Definitely.
just learn all these these things. So we tell them the basics are the most important things you need to know about grammar, and you can go further once you found that you need more grammar. Otherwise,
Definitely.
the
Yeah.
other parts are important to actually improve. Okay, so
Yeah.
you also mentioned you wanted to have a kind of a native like a more native like accent. How could you do that? Was it again by imitation or something else?
Well, it was not only imitation, to be honest, but I mean, imitation was a great deal. It helped me a lot because, like, I had the native speaker, and like, I decided to work with her as a volunteer. And the time when I started working with her, every day we met each other, and like, I was able to hear a clear and a native accent. And then I said, okay, this is a golden chance for me, and I have to imitate how, I mean, she's talking. The first thing, that's what I did. Imitation was one of them. And then I watched a lot of movies. I watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and I had friends. I had many friends. I mean, in the USA, and we have been talking on the phone. I mean, I have been practicing my English with them, and at the same time, I mean, from that time, I don't know why, but from that time, this idea was in my mind to videotape myself and to talk. I mean, sometimes when I watched a YouTube video, I mean, I was trying to like to write down the words, the way they pronounce it, and then I recorded myself, and I was trying to imitate how they pronounce it.
True.
And actually, it took me almost like 2 to 3 years.
3 years. Well done. That was
Yeah, exactly.
A long time.
It was actually not easy, because every time when I wanted to like speak American accent, there was a British word jumping into my speech. Because, like, we have been studying British accent, and then it was not easy. Yeah, so this is how I tried imitation, watching a lot of videos, and I was recording myself. I was trying to talk with other people, like practicing my speaking with them. So to be honest, this is how like I control, not control. I don't know why I love control.
You love control today. You actually love the word control today.
I'm a dictator. I want to control the whole world.
Yeah. Well, yeah. These are like the things you mentioned. These are great tips. Watching movies, videotaping yourself, recording yourself in front of a phone. And imitation is also great, but I believe by imitation you mean the way the words are pronounced, not
exactly
like changing your lips to look
exactly
like a speaker. These are
and
great
actually, and actually one more point that I would like to add. I mean, I don't like recommend people to learn English from songs, but this is what I did. I mean, I got benefit from it. This is like a personal preference. Like, sure. I watched songs, and like one of them was Mahir Zain. I loved his songs. I don't know why. I mean, I watched his songs. I listened to him, and every time I was trying to imitate and sing the song with Mahir Zain, I mean, I really got benefit from that. It was awesome. And maybe, I mean, like I said, it's a personal preference. Maybe some other people can get benefit from it,
True.
But I cannot recommend it.
Again, it's a matter of personal preference. So some people might read stories, listen to maybe podcasts. I personally love podcasts. I listen a lot while I am driving, while I'm at work, while I'm at home. When I have some free time, I try to listen to podcasts because they are like so informal and so beneficial in terms of the content, because you hear a lot, and they are sometimes like very long. They are lengthy enough that they discuss almost everything. So like the things you mentioned were very great. I like this
Thank you.
These techniques. Now let me jump to the question, like the other part of your, let me say, life. You have been on Revin Dictionary Fans for the last couple of years, and I'm sure you helped English learners a lot. So now tell me the questions you receive every day about the difficulties and how you actually respond to these difficulties. Tell us like the difficulties, not all of them, but the most common ones.
Exactly. Okay. Well, one of the difficulties that like a lot of time, I mean, I'm sure you receive a lot of message, and most of their online English teachers receive a lot of message. But the biggest question that people ask is, how can I learn English? And I mean, when they ask this question, I'm scared to death, because I mean, there are thousands of ways, there are millions of ways. I mean,
Exactly.
you don't know how to describe it, because I mean, it cannot be described in a word or in a sentence. Like, you
True.
have to tell them many things. That's why I decided to make a video about the tips or the ways of learning English.
By the
And
way,
every time they
I
ask
liked
me,
your video. By the way, I liked your video, and
thank you so much.
great.
Yeah, I mean, when they ask this question, I mean, I just send the video and I say, okay, watch this video, and then later on, if you have any questions, then just let me know.
Let me know. Yeah.
And to be honest, like, one of the things that, I mean, that is a difficulty to me, I mean, from my perspective,
Mhm.
I believe people's mindset towards language. Like, what I mean from that is, like, people's understanding and thinking about language. Like, many people like ask, okay, how can I learn English in 2 months or in 6 months?
Oh.
I mean, dude, this is, yeah, seriously. I mean, language, we know that it's a process. It's not mathematics. Like, you cannot learn language in a specific time. Like, you have to deal with it. You have to make it like your lifestyle. I mean, I always say, practicing English is just like having the 3 meals or the 2 meals in a day. Like, you have to live with English. You have to make it like your lifestyle. You cannot learn English in a specific time. And at the same time, I mean, this is very crucial for myself. I mean, this is what I have been telling people for many times. Please do not, do not see English to learn as an obligation. You have to make it fun for yourself. You don't need to tell me, okay, I need English for work and I have to learn. No, instead, you have to say, I would like to learn English because I love English.
Exactly.
You have to make passion for the language. Otherwise, you will get bored. I mean, that's why in my video, I mentioned the types of learners, like visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Yeah.
That's why I always tell the people, you have to find your own path of learning English.
True.
You can get benefit from people's experience. You can like watch many things. You can read many things. You can get benefit from everything. I mean, everything there, even a word that you read in a magazine, in a newspaper, it's going to be helpful. But still, you have to have your own path of learning English. You have to create your own path if you don't have it. That's why people have to change their mindset about learning English. And at the same time, they have to take English as something fun. Otherwise, they will get bored so easily. For example, take a look, like the quarantine. Like, it's not something fun.
Yeah.
But you have to make it fun home. Like, imagine like what we are doing here on the show. It's something fun and we enjoy it. Otherwise,
I really enjoy it.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And this is true with English as well. Like, people have to make it fun for themselves in order to not give up in a specific time. Well, I mean, that's one of the biggest difficulties.
I believe this is true because after all, the problem is that, especially with the Kurdish learners, they want English like in a matter of days, while it's impossible. It doesn't happen like overnight. It's very hard to think like this.
Exactly.
So changing their mindset is really important, because if they think right, then I'm sure they will be able to tackle all the difficulties that they will face.
Yeah.
If
that's the point.
If they think that the problem, it's not just about English, by the way. Kurdish learners have the problem with almost all the other disciplines.
We are impatient. Yeah.
Exactly. We need patience. We need patience. We have to be patient enough in terms of language learning, because look at ourselves. We have been studying English for the last couple of 10 years, like for the last 10 years that we have been living with English, watching movies, listening, writing, translating, making videos. I don't know, almost all our life has been with English. So if they want to learn English, they have to live with English. Well, that was great. Thank you. So,
and
actually, what about, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry for the interruption. One more point that I would like to add is, like, if 50% of my English was because of Kathleen and was because of my efforts, the other 50% was because of teaching. Because I mean, when you teach, you learn twice. Seriously, there's a quote. It says like to teach is to learn twice. I mean, I believe in that. Like when you are teaching some, like a group of students, like you have to prepare yourself. You have to be ready for the classroom. I mean, I'm sure you have this feeling and you have experience about
I
this.
have learned
So 50% of teaching, 50%.
Great.
So that's why I always encourage people, like, please share what you have with the people, but in the right way, of course. I mean, we have been discussing this for so long.
Actually, what we are doing at the moment, like making social media posts, videos. But by the way, I tell everyone that first I learn, and then what I'm learning, I'm teach, like sharing that with you. And I hope that they will find it like useful. Okay, so exactly. Zana, that was a great point. What about like the specific parts, like for example, pronunciation? What about vocabulary? Have you got any questions that people asking about? For example, I learn vocabulary, but I like forget them right away. How do you actually respond to these difficulties, like this kind of difficulty?
Okay, one of the funny, and actually it's kind of challenging and funny for me, like interesting thing about English is like certain vocabularies have multiple meanings. For example, I mean, I just made a research and I found out like there are some words have multiple meanings. For example, the word set, S-E-T, has like 464 meanings.
Oh,
run, run. The word run, R-U-N, has 396 meanings. Take, 368 meanings. Get, 289 meanings. And turn, 288 meanings. So those kind of like multiple meanings are not easy to control. So if you want to, like, I mean, this is what I have been telling people, like, please, I mean, if you want to learn English, you do not have to follow rules. You have to learn the language naturally. Because imagine, like, the word have, I will give you 3 sentences, like, I mean, not for you because I know you know it, but for the people who are watching later. Yeah. For example, I have a car. I have breakfast every day, for example. I have to go. So I have a car. I mean, you know that it's like possessing something, owning something. I have breakfast every day. It's like I eat breakfast. So have here means eat.
Something else.
And I have to go. It's like I must go. So people, like, they get confused about these things. That's why I mean, you, me, all the other English teachers nowadays, we tell the people, please do not learn words alone. You have to learn in a context. Like you have to put it in a sentence. You have to, exactly. I mean, you have to put it in a sentence, and please do not memorize it. Practice it instead. Because if you want to memorize a sentence,
they have exactly. To honestly,
exactly. I mean, that's the point.
I want to add something to your point. I found out that even many English learners are mistakenly using words. For example, they take, for example, a word like point. Okay, they have difficulties with the parts of speech. For example, the word point, when it's a noun, it has a meaning, and when it's a verb, it has something like the meaning will be different. So,
of course.
And the problem is that sometimes, like, English Kurdish dictionaries have only one meaning of that word, and then this is what makes the English learners confused, because they most of the time they rely on the English Kurdish dictionaries. They don't explore more. So this is why it's also another problem with the vocabulary.
And actually, this point about, I mean, Kurdish dictionaries lead me to a good one. Like, we have a plan as Brevin Dictionary, like, to have almost like something like Longman Dictionary, like a definition dictionary.
And
So hopefully we will solve this problem and overcome it. Hopefully.
I hope so. I hope so. That would be great. That would be a
Yeah.
great project, and I hope
Inshallah.
to be part of it. Okay.
Of
Anyway,
course.
okay, great. I also talked about pronunciation like earlier. This is something else that I personally find it difficult, and I also see that English learners also have the difficulty with the pronunciation because they usually pronounce words the way they look like. They don't they don't know that the word, like the letters, do not represent the sounds in English. So for example, take a word like choir, okay? Choir, choir. So if you give that to someone, they may say choir, something like that, because they believe that ch is always ch, and and the rest will be oir, oir, choir, something like that. So this is something else. How do you usually, as yourself as a teacher, how do you tell your students to deal with this kind of difficulty?
Just before like starting the show, I mean, I was watching a video of one of like teachers online. I mean, it was a great video. I mean, I watched it. I mean, he was talking about T, like T sound in American. And he mentioned like 8 points about like 8 situations about, I mean, the sound of T. And actually he did a great job. I mean, I was impressed about his job, about the video. But what I want to say here is that like, I always advise all the students, I mean, dealing with accents and pronunciation, it's something that you have to deal with it later on when, when you get something about, when you have a background about English. I mean, one of the like things that I face is that people have not started learning English. They just decided to start learning English. And then they say, okay, should I follow American accent or British accent? Come on, dude. I mean, I always tell the people, it's good. It's very interesting. It's very impressive, like to have a clear American accent or a British accent or maybe African-American English or whatever. Okay. But to me, it's the best to have a clear and an understandable accent.
Exactly.
I mean, once one of my friends, like at the university, asked one of the American native speakers, and she said, okay, what accent should I follow? Like, I mean, how to get a pure American accent? Yeah. And he said, like, he responded, he said, why do you have to speak American accent? And she said, why? He said, like, you have to speak a clear Kurdish English accent. You don't have to have an American accent. You don't have to have a British accent. Instead, you just need to have a clear accent. So that's my problem with, with most of their students. Like, we give them these advice like every day, almost every day. We face the same questions and we give them these advice. So like you said, like you mentioned, English is not a phonetic language. Exactly. For example, the word teacher, if you like read it the way it's written, like you have to say teacher. Exactly. And you cannot pronounce it this way. Yeah. Something like literature, like you have to say literaturi.
Literature.
Seriously.
By the way, tell you the truth, like the Spanish, the Latin word of literature is literatur.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that was a great point. But you know what? I made a research before about, English language history, and I found that only 20% of English is pure English. Well, so the 80 other percent was borrowed from the other languages. So English is a thief.
True.
Yeah. And that's why we have to deal with all different spellings, with different pronunciations, like words are not phonetic. Like we have to deal with these things. It's because of that English
Yeah.
has borrowed like a lot of things from other languages.
True. By the way, like each time I look up a word in, for example, in a like monolingual dictionary like Oxford or Longman. When I look at the origin of the word, I find it like it's from Old French, from Latin, like other language. So again, like anyway, at the moment, English is a global language, and if you know English, you can, it helps you a lot.
Of course, but to get back to the main point, like our advice, I mean, I'm sure you agree with me about that. Our advice is just practice about grammar, about spelling, about writing, about pronunciation, about accent. It's all about practice and having patience. Like you have to be patient and practice every day. Then trust me, like automatically, without feeling it, you get improved.
Exactly.
I mean, I have not been feeling that my English has improved, because I remember the first time when we met each other, my English was seriously broken. I mean, I remember that. The first very time when we...
The first thing. I mean, the first time when we met, I remember that time. I remember that one of the days, Kath was giving, I don't know, what was it, an orientation? I cannot recall, but we were both there, and she asked us about the word reputation, and we were both the translator there. You asked me, does that mean this? And I said, I believe yes. So if we were good, we would not be like that at that time.
Exactly.
I believe we have improved a lot, because we have been practicing a lot since then.
Definitely.
So, yeah. By the way, this was like my next question to ask. Like learners are asking this question, that they have the difficulty getting real life practice. How do you yourself? I usually say, go and find an app, for example, find people and then talk to them. But like in Kurdish learners, they don't care, like they don't want this way, because you know that we are very shy, honestly. We
always want the easiest way.
Exactly. So what is your advice? How, like, what do you think that might work for Kurdish learners when it comes to getting real life practice?
Okay. Well, concerning this question, actually, I believe students or English learners nowadays are very lucky, because there are many resources of learning English. Because I mean, I am sure like the older people, the older generation, when they started, I mean, I remember my brother was dealing with English and was trying to learn English. He had a small dictionary like this. It was his name. I mean, the name of the dictionary was Jaff's Dictionary, stuff like this.
I still have it in my small library.
Yeah, I mean,
very small.
So there was, I mean, there was not a lot of resources. There was not a lot of ways to learn English. But nowadays, the people are lucky, but they are lazy. But they are lazy. Exactly. They always want the easiest way for themselves to learn the language. I mean, you just need to know that, I mean, English is a process, and you have to deal with it almost every day. Trust me, like, if you practice for a month, I mean, that's another big issue that, I mean, there is a lot that I want to say. That's another issue. Like, people go for a language course, and when they are done, I mean, they study level 1, for example, okay, the beginner level. Maybe. And then they said, okay, we got benefit, but then they give up. They believe in one course they have to learn everything, but they don't know, like, I mean, having a teacher in the centers, a teacher is just a guider. He cannot teach you everything. You have to do it by yourself. You have to do it, like, depend on yourself. And that's why I believe learners nowadays are lucky but lazy, because there are many resources. For example, they can use apps, that they can talk to English native speakers. For example, Hallo is one of the apps, and very interesting.
Yeah, highly.
Very interactive. Exactly. It's very interactive. Like you can talk with native speakers. I mean, I know that, I mean, we are kind of unlucky because English is not even the second language in Kurdistan. It's a foreign language. But if you are a real learner, you will, if you don't have a way, you will create it by yourself. Like you can watch YouTube videos. For example, I had a debate, an online debate. People, I mean, participated in the debate and they
Yeah, they
got
join
benefit.
you.
Even if you cannot talk, just come and watch the video. Just try to practice your listening skill. And
Yeah,
trust me, in most of the cities of Kurdistan, like there are chances to practice English. They are, like, I had talk clubs in Erbil, I had talk clubs in
exactly.
Suli, in Rania. For example, one of my friends, Yasin, he has a talk club in Rania
I
for
know.
free, but people take for granted, and they don't respect that. They don't go and like join the talk clubs. So the problem is with their learners, not with the ways. I mean, they don't take it seriously. They take it for granted, and that's why they are facing these kind of difficulties. If
Well,
they are real learners, they can find a way.
that's true. By the way, like they won the language, but they don't take it seriously. For example, they don't go to the clubs like language cafes. They don't use the apps. I mean, they don't videotape themselves, which is the most convenient way, I believe, so that
Exactly.
they can practice. They don't even
Exactly.
record their voices. If you don't like recording your face, at least record your voice so that you can give yourself a kind of feedback, see where your problems and weaknesses so that you can work on them. Well, that's our advice. Go to the talk clubs, talk to yourself, record yourself, maybe using apps. These are ways. If you can find a friend, a native speaker, uh, you can talk to that native speaker, and that's all. From
And
us.
if there's not a native speaker, you can find someone with mutual interest. Like
Exactly.
there are many people, they want to learn English. And trust me, like for beginner levels, like they don't have to go talk with a native speaker, because a native speaker is going to confuse them.
Yeah.
And I mean, they are going to speak very rapidly and they will get disappointed about the language because they don't care if you know English or not. Sometimes, I mean, some people, of course, I know, like there are many native speakers, they have been helpful. I mean, they are trying to talk in a slow way, very slowly, because they want you to understand what they are saying. But I mean, in general, if you do not find a native speaker, go find someone with a mutual interest, someone who wants to learn English the same like you do. And this leads me to this point, which is people feel shy about making mistakes, which is good. I mean, it's very controversial. I know it takes, I
And
mean, in Kurdish, like we say,
yeah, that's
so seriously, like people feel shy about making mistakes, stuff like this. But I just give one example about myself. I remember I was at the university, and it was the first time that I wanted to like express my American accent. And there was, I mean, we had poetry class and there was something written on the data show and I had to read it. And the thing was like, in the every line, there was the word matter. And it was, yeah, I think in British accent, it's matter, right?
Yeah, it's
Matter.
yeah,
Yeah. So I wanted to like show my American accent to my friends and I read it. Okay, matter, 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 matter. Like everybody was like laughing at me, but I never cared about these kind of stuff. I mean, I have been bullied, I have been like teased, I have been mocked like by my friends, which I took it as a joke. I mean, everybody, I mean, faces this, but you have to take it as something interesting. It's a challenge, but it's an interesting challenge. You don't have to feel shy about making mistakes and stuff like this.
Yeah. Actually, we have to go through this like difficulties. We cannot we cannot be someone in a matter of days. So you have to face the difficulties, challenge yourself, so that you can actually overcome these difficulties. Otherwise, it's not like, for example, a word like a few days ago, I taught a kind of like live session about how you can deal with the pronunciation of long words.
Yeah, I watched it.
Yeah,
It was awesome. Seriously,
you're
I
welcome.
watched it.
You're welcome. So actually, I know it's very hard for a beginner just to learn how to pronounce a word, like particularly because after all, if you don't practice that word, I'm sure when you want to pronounce that word, you will just you'll be confused and you won't be able. So it requires practice. So practice makes perfect. Otherwise, you won't be able to get what you want. Actually, I don't have any other questions. It has been a pleasure that
Thank you so much.
I had you on the show. If you have an extra, something extra you want to say, otherwise, we mentioned a lot. I'm sure if anyone watched this video, will find it useful and will find all the ways that we shared and we discussed. And thank you so much, Zach.
Well,
That was
thank you
an
so much
incredible
for.
meeting.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for hosting me. It was really a pleasure. You made my day because I was bored. I didn't know what to do home.
Yeah.
So you made my day. And I hope like people watch the video and find it useful for themselves. And I hope like I hope they get benefit from every resources that is there online or face to face. They can get benefit from everyone. They can get benefit from Zana, from Sardar, from Ahmed, from Awad, from Yasin, from, I don't know. They can get benefit from everyone, but they have to find the right person to follow.
Exactly.
There are many, one last advice that I have to give. There are many fake courses. There are many weak courses. People are trying to, they are trying to make business, or even sometimes they want to learn English on our behalf. So please find the right person to follow. Exactly. I mean, when you find someone who has a course, you have to ask someone who is experienced, a teacher, someone, if this person can be followed or not, if he can be reliable or not. That's the only and the last thing that I have. And thank you so much for having me here, Sardar. It was a great pleasure.
You're welcome. And that was like golden advice, by the way. I it's like the same from me, guys, the same from me. Please take this for granted. When you want to learn English, try to know who to follow, what to read, what to watch, and please try to have courage and overcome the difficulties that you actually have. That's all from us. That's the end of this episode. And thanks again, Zana. And
thank you.
Have a great time. Peace.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye. Take care.